My trip to Mexico City was a transformative journey. In this video, I'll give you my top 10 activities in Mexico City. But honestly, what I found most important, what hit me hard, was that I rediscovered my life's purpose. Traveling, learning new cultures, seeing the world through eyes wider than my own. I'm here to inspire others to get out there, to chase their own adventures. Number 1, Arena Mexico. This place, Arena Mexico, is where the blood, sweat, and goddamn tears of lucha libre bleed into the concrete like a motherfucker. Built back in the 1910s or 1920s, originally a boxing dump called Arena Modelo, this joint was abandoned in the early 30s until Salvador Lutteroth, the godfather of Mexican wrestling, decided to make it his playground. On September 21st, 1933, he threw down the first Lucha Libre show, kicking off a legacy that would make this arena legendary. By 1956, they renamed it Arena Mexico, the Cathedral of Lucha Libre, and it's still the biggest damn wrestling arena in the world built specifically for this brutal, beautiful sport. Walking into Arena Mexico is like stepping into a temple of chaos, an altar where legends are made and broken. I paid around $50, about 1,000 pesos, to sit close enough to see the sweat drip from their brows, close enough to smell the dirt, the beer, the raw fucking adrenaline. Tuesday night, I caught AEW vs. CLL, a show that fucking tore the roof off. It proved that wrestling isn't just a show, it's a visceral, raw, bleeding fight for respect. My favorite match? Bandito versus Mascara Dorado for the Ring of Honor Championship. That kid, Bandito, is a high-flying freak, 20 minutes of chaos, and the crowd behind him like he's their fucking hero. He's the real deal, a workhorse, a champion in every sense, talking to fans in his native tongue, taking pictures showing he cares. And then there was AEW Grand Slam Mexico Wednesday night, MJF versus Mystico. MJF, that cocky bastard, knows how to stir shit up. He's versatile as hell, can brawl, can talk shit, and he's not afraid to cross lines. He didn't just wrestle. He tore into the culture, ripping off Mystico's mask, taboo as hell in Lucha Libre, waving the American flag, and wearing tights that scream USA, like he's trying to piss everyone off. And he loves it when fans get in his face. Hell, someone even assaulted him after the show, and he loved every second of it. That's a motherfucker who understands how to stir the pot, who thrives on controversy, who makes the crowd hate him or love him, but never ignore him. The crowd. Over 14,000 people packed the place, an enormous jump from the usual 4,000 or so AEW draws in the States. It's a fucking victory for wrestling, proof that the sport doesn't have to be stuck in one country. For me, it's about the raw energy, the passion, the culture. It's about making memories that stick with you, like dreaming about someday visiting Tokyo Dome or Wembley Stadium, all because you saw a show that made your heart fucking pound. The Frida Kahlo Museum, the Blue House, the Frida Kahlo Museum, is more than just a building. It's a sacred ground soaked in history, pain, and resilience. Painted in that deep cobalt blue, the house invites you in with a quiet, almost hypnotic beauty. The color alone, rich, vibrant, alive, makes you feel like you're staring into the depths of the sea, lost in a world both mesmerizing and melancholic. Red and green accents adorn the walls, colors that when you stare long enough seem to blend into the very fabric of the house, echoing the digital hues of a computer screen, yet rooted in the earth of Mexico. Walking through its courtyards, listening to the birds chirping, the water fountains softly splashing, you are transported away from the chaos of Mexico City traffic, silenced, almost sacred. It's a place that whispers stories of a young woman who fought her body's suffering, her troubled life, her unyielding spirit. Frida Kahlo was born here in 1907, and her life was marked by tragedy and pain, an accident that nearly tore her apart, illnesses that haunted her, and a body that often betrayed her. Yet she transformed her suffering into art, powerful, controversial, fearless. Her work was a revolution in itself, an unflinching portrayal of her body, her pain, her identity. When she painted, she dared to show what others refused to face, the raw, honest truth of being human, broken but unbowed. During her lifetime, her art was revolutionary. Imagine she depicted her injuries, her chronic pain, her body's fragility at a time when even FDR in the White House wouldn't show a wheelchair on camera because of the stigma surrounding disability. Kahlo's work challenged that silence. Her paintings screamed her truths, her suffering, her resilience, her identity with a bravery that could have ended her career, yet instead made her immortal. The house itself is steeped in history. It was her birthplace, her sanctuary, her prison. Diego Rivera, her tumultuous husband, lived here too, transforming it into a space of bohemia and revolution. Trotsky stayed here for a time, hiding from Stalin's assassins, adding layers of political drama and danger to its walls. The house saw love, heartbreak, political exile, and ultimately her death in 1954 at just 47. Today, Walking through the rooms filled with her belongings, her paintings, her personal artifacts, you feel like you're standing at a gravesite, honoring a woman who fought relentlessly against the pain of her body and the limitations imposed on her by society. It's a beautiful, haunting place. The house's walls hold her memories, her suffering, her triumphs. To visit is to confront the fragility of life, the resilience of the human spirit, and the unyielding power of art as a weapon of truth. In the early 1990s, as her name grew in global consciousness, the Blue House became a symbol not just of her art, but of feminism, LGBTQ+ pride, and indigenous Mexican identity. It's a monument to a woman who refused to be silenced, who turned her agony into masterpieces, and who left behind a legacy that continues to inspire millions. Seeing her home is to see a life lived in defiance, beautiful and tragic, raw and real. It's where suffering became art and art became a revolution. And it's impossible not to feel a profound sense of reverence, sadness, and awe, like standing at the edge of a grave, knowing that within these walls lies the soul of a woman who endured more than most could ever understand, yet dared to create something eternal. The Torre Latinoamericana stands like a monument to ambition and resilience in the heart of Mexico City. Its sleek silhouette pierces the sky, a testament to human ingenuity, an achievement born from the ashes of post-war boom. Its sleek silhouette pierces the sky, a testament to human ingenuity, an achievement born from the ashes of post-war boom, rising over a city that is vast, relentless, and full of life. When you ascend to its observation deck, you are granted a view of a sprawling metropolis, a city that stretches beyond the horizon, its endless sea of buildings and houses whispering stories of dreams deferred and dreams fulfilled. From the top, the city's expanse is humbling. You see the infinite, the chaos and order intertwined, an urban fabric woven tightly, alive, unyielding. It's a stark reminder of how small we are in this vastness, yet how powerful the human spirit can be to build something that withstands earthquakes, time, and the relentless march of history. The tower itself is more than just a structure, it's a survivor. In 1985, when the Earth shook with an 8.1 magnitude, it stood firm, an unbroken sentinel amid the destruction. Many buildings around it crumbled, but the Torre Latinoamericana remained unscathed, a silent testament to the mastery of its design and the resilience of its creators. It was the tallest in Latin America, the fourth tallest outside New York, and a symbol of a new Mexico, a nation reaching upward, looking beyond its borders with hope. The experience at Ling Ling by Hakkasan was truly one of the most extraordinary culinary journeys I've ever encountered. While I regret not having visited during the evening to take in the breathtaking Mexico City skyline illuminated at night, the ambience during the day was still nothing short of spectacular. Upon arrival, I eagerly ordered the calamari, which pleasantly surprised me with its divine crispiness, delicately puffed, almost like a golden, crispy corn dog sitting atop a fresh salad. To my delight, I discovered that the accompanying spread was not butter, but a subtly spicy wasabi mayo, perfectly complementing the calamari. The pairing was sublime, like a harmonious dance of flavors, reminiscent of peanut butter and jelly, chocolate and peanut butter, or even the most exquisite moments in life. The dish was rich without being greasy, with the breaded texture and shrimp flavor perfectly balanced by the piquant wasabi mayo, keeping my appetite eager for the subsequent courses. For my main course, I chose the ravioli. Though modest in size, it was incredibly satisfying, filling me quickly. The ravioli was generously coated in a buttery, oily sauce, perhaps reminiscent of country fare food, but it didn't detract from the experience as I savor indulgent flavors. Inside, a luscious cheese and tender veal filling created a delightful harmony of textures and tastes. To conclude, I indulged in a decadent chocolate cake, rich, fudgy, and intensely chocolatey. Its heaviness was almost overwhelming, and I found myself wishing I had ordered a coffee to better complement and enjoy its deep, velvety flavor. The bill came to 1,500 pesos, with a 300 peso tip, totaling approximately $96. While Mexico City offers an array of exceptional fine dining options, it's wise to be mindful of your spending to fully enjoy the experience without worry. Leon Trotsky House Museum. What truly frustrates me about my educational experience is the glaring gaps in my understanding of history, gaps that museums like this help fill. One such omission was Leon Trotsky. Oddly enough, the only time I learned about the Russian Revolution was through my English teacher, who used it as context for Animal Farm. Unfortunately, Trotsky's story was never part of my middle or high school history classes. That's why I find visiting museums and memorials so enriching. They serve as living history books, allowing me to fill in the blanks of what I didn't learn in school. Visiting the Trotsky Museum was an emotionally charged experience that left a lasting impression on me. Unlike other museums in Mexico City, such as Frida Kahlo's House, which offers comprehensive English translations, this museum's lack of multilingual support made understanding the exhibits more difficult. It felt like a missed opportunity to make Trotsky's story accessible to a broader audience. Despite that, I can't complain too much considering the entrance fee was only about $4. For such a profound historical site, that's a small price to pay. The atmosphere within the museum is incredibly somber and heavy with history. Trotsky's tragic fate, murdered by Stalin's agents, loomed over the space. His gravesite, adorned with vivid red carnations in beautiful pots, was a striking and poignant sight. The gravestone, carved with the hammer and sickle, stood as a stark reminder of the brutal repression he suffered. The display of his grave was powerful. Those red carnations symbolized both mourning and resistance, a vibrant tribute to his enduring legacy. I stood there for a moment, feeling a strange, almost supernatural connection, like Trotsky's spirit was whispering that we must stay true to ourselves, even in a world that is often cruel and unjust. Trotsky's exile and eventual murder exemplify the deadly consequences of this reign of terror. Stalin's policies led to the systematic killing or exile of countless political rivals, intellectuals, and innocent citizens simply because they dared to oppose his vision. It's deeply tragic that in such a climate, ideas that challenge authority are met with violence, often resulting in death or imprisonment. The regime's obsession with silencing opposition led to a wave of killings, wrongful imprisonments, and show trials that scarred the fabric of the Soviet Union and had ripple effects across the world. My next stop was Blanco Casteller, widely regarded as one of the top restaurants in Mexico City. The building itself makes a striking impression with a presentation that evokes the elegance of a hotel restaurant. The facade is lush with plants, creating a nearly jungle-like atmosphere that invites exploration. They graciously offered complimentary tacos to start, soft tortillas filled with what appeared to be mashed chickpeas. I enjoyed them immensely. I could easily eat a dozen in one sitting. However, I noticed that many Mexican dishes tend to be quite oily, a common trait that I've observed elsewhere in the cuisine.
People at work think I'm trying to be like Warren Buffett with how I always like those glass Mexican Coca-Cola bottles, but you know, I just like this Coca-Cola better. The Mexican Coca-Cola is definitely the best.
For my main course, I ordered an Alfredo dish topped with purple flower petals. The vibrant purple contrasted beautifully with the yellow pasta, adding a splash of color inspired by opposite colors on the color wheel.
And also, too, they have chopped bacon in it because, you know, everything's better with chopped bacon. I'm not usually a fan of vegetables in my pasta, but it's just because I'm like a meat eater. I need to get on the Atkins diet. I hope my dad isn't watching, but this is the best Alfredo I've had in my life. Yeah, so this looks really, really good. You know, I have some chopped onions on it. Yeah, I can't wait to try this out. So the chorizo is very delicious. It's not super greasy to me. And it tastes like a high quality cut. Like there's not a lot of salt, there's not a lot of grease. It tastes more of the meat flavor. And then I'm not a fan with with whatever these things are. I think it's like red onion or something like that. I'm not a fan of that, but otherwise, you know, it's really, really good and really delicious.
First stop after leaving the airport was Panaderia Rosetta. The bakery's aesthetic immediately captivated me, bright, well lit, with an abundance of lush green plants and a warm, inviting atmosphere. The white walls and golden brown wooden accents evoked images of a refined outdoor wedding or a charming garden party. The ambience reminded me of upscale restaurants in downtown Manhattan, where meticulous attention is given to creating a sophisticated yet welcoming environment. The Ocho Frutos Rojos, meaning 8 red fruits, initially led me to believe it was named for the shape of the confection, resembling a figure 8. Inside, it featured a pool of fruit marmalade and vanilla cream. The marmalade had a seed-filled, organic strawberry flavor with a fresh, natural taste that was quite delightful. The vanilla cream was subtly sweet, evoking a custard or vanilla pudding, but without overpowering the palate. The flaky, crispy bread reminded me of fried bread, light and delicate, without any greasiness. The tarte au limon framboux or lemon raspberry tart reminded me of a well-balanced key lime pie. It struck a perfect balance between sour and tart, with the right amount of acidity, not overwhelmingly sour like a lemon drop, but just enough to be refreshing. The inclusion of raspberries embedded within the lemon filling added vibrant color and a natural sweetness that countered the tartness beautifully. The meringue topping had a subtle burnt marshmallow flavor, giving it a rich, smoky sweetness without being overly sugary. Because I was on a tight schedule, I finished my meal here, but I couldn't resist ordering more after tasting the lemon tart. What caught my eye was the Mil Hojas de Frutos Rojos, literally 1,000 layers of red fruit. This dessert was visually stunning, reminiscent of the gourmet layered pastries I've seen in display cases in New York City bakeries. The layers of flaky, crispy fried bread were perfectly balanced in texture, crisp yet soft, with a slight sweetness that complemented the filling. The filling itself was moist and lightly sweetened, packed with fresh raspberries, blueberries, and strawberries, an ideal choice for anyone seeking a healthier dessert option. However, my experience with the hot chocolate was disappointing, which is worth mentioning because I believe in honest reviews. It was rich and creamy, made from natural ingredients rather than artificial syrups, which I appreciated. Unfortunately, it felt a little chewy, and I detected what seemed like a spinach-like flavor combined with a strong minty undertone.
Democrático ni nada en esos países. El caso más del libro de texto es el caso de Hussein en Irak.
One of the highlights of my trip was visiting the Museo Nacional de Antropología. Recognized as one of the best and largest anthropological museums in the world, it was an incredible experience. The museum's vastness was initially overwhelming. I was struck by a waterfall installation that probably circulated hundreds of gallons of water per minute, a mesmerizing feature that added a dynamic element to the space. There were impressive murals from the sites of Cacaxtla o Chaitecatl. These murals, with their vivid reds reminiscent of blood, alongside blues, yellows, and blacks, caught my eye for their raw intensity. I appreciate artwork that evokes strong emotions, and these certainly did. The artifacts on display, especially the ancient stone objects, conveyed a sense of history and power. One artifact that stood out was the Stone of the Sun, often mistaken for the Mayan calendar of December 2012. Its intricate carvings and symbolic content reveal a deeper understanding of Mesoamerican cosmology. The stone features a large carved disc representing a sacrificial altar, likely used in warrior rituals, though it was unfinished due to a crack running through it. The depiction of Xiuhtecutli, the fire god, surrounded by symbols of the 4 previous suns, underscores its sacred significance. I overheard a visitor suggesting that the stone was used in a ritual where 2 warriors fought to the death, their blood staining the artifact. I have to advise that this museum may not be suitable for small children, given the graphic depictions of human sacrifice and ritual violence. Nevertheless, I appreciated the honesty in showcasing these historical truths. The collection included stunning artifacts, such as a mask adorned with aquamarine gemstones, which I found particularly captivating. My time was limited, so I explored the museum in about an hour, though I could have easily spent several more hours delving into its treasures. My next destination was the Museo de Arte Moderno. Among the highlights of the museum is Frida Kahlo's The Two Fridas, a masterpiece that stands as one of the most emblematic and profound paintings in her oeuvre, and perhaps in all of Mexican art. This work exemplifies Kahlo's mastery of self-portraiture as a means of exploring identity, duality, and emotional vulnerability, woven into a complex visual narrative that invites intense analysis. The mustache introduces a subtle but powerful gender ambiguity, suggesting a challenge to conventional notions of femininity and masculinity. It also hints at Kahlo's exploration of gender fluidity, or perhaps her internal conflict about identity, self-perception, and societal roles. The visible, bleeding heart symbolizes her inner suffering, as well as her openness to emotional exposure. The blood seeping from her heart signifies pain, perhaps her personal struggles, her illnesses, or her sense of loss. The exposed heart also acts as a literal and figurative organ of emotional truth, unshielded and vulnerable in stark contrast to her outward appearance. The second figure, dressed in a vibrant, traditional Mexican dress, also has her heart exposed, but from the outside, her heart appears intact but is visible, as if protected or outwardly resilient. This version of Kahlo could symbolize her external persona, her strength, her cultural pride, or her social mask, yet the exposure of her heart hints at an underlying vulnerability. The contrast between the two hearts, one internal and raw, the other external and guarded, serves as a visual metaphor for Kahlo's ongoing internal dialogue, the conflict between her private suffering and her public resilience, her personal pain and her cultural identity. The background is filled with a dark, ominous sky of swirling clouds and a compressed, almost claustrophobic landscape, elements that evoke a dreamlike, surreal atmosphere. The clouds, rendered in shades of gray, seem to press inward, heightening the sense of emotional claustrophobia and internal tension. This compressed landscape echoes the psychological state of Kahlo, trapped between contrasting identities and experiences. The landscape's distortion also aligns with the surrealist tradition, emphasizing the subconscious and the dreamlike quality of her emotional universe. In addition to Kahlo, the museum features intriguing photographs, including one of female luchadoras, wrestlers in masks, feeding a child.
This photograph struck me as a powerful metaphor for the multiple roles people embody, performers in the ring and nurturing mothers at home. The Luchadora's mask symbolizes the mystery and power of identity, rooted in a tradition that values anonymity and mystique. This tradition parallels the way superheroes like Batman or Spider-Man conceal their true selves, and it reflects the importance of preserving character and privacy in a public persona. There's also a compelling story about luchadors and their masks, believed to hold spiritual power, protecting their identities as a way to maintain their persona's mystique.